suicidal empathy is killing Western civilization. If you've followed the news at all these past few years, you've probably had this exact experience. A story breaks, something awful happened, and for some reason, the victim fades from view. It's the criminal who's defended. And if you're the one who says, wait, can we go back to the person who was actually hurt? Somehow, you become the monster. You become the heartless racist. You've seen this probably dozens of times. This, my friends, is suicidal empathy. The evolutionary psychologist Gad Saad coined the term. His 2026 book by that name went straight to #1, with Elon Musk's endorsement right there on the cover, warning that the West is doomed if it doesn't wake up to this. Finally, we have a name for what's happening, and it's not a metaphor.
Good way to describe it, which is suicidal empathy.
Yes.
You prey upon people's empathy. You feel sorry for some group. That empathy is to such a degree that it is suicidal to your country or culture. That suicidal empathy is also responsible for why somebody's arrested 47 times for violent offenses, gets released, and then goes and murders somebody.
But I want to add something to Saad's idea, because I think his framing leaves one thing out. It treats suicidal empathy as one thing, done by one kind of person. But as I started unpacking how the psychology of suicidal empathy works, I realized there are 4 different kinds of players fueling it, each with their own specific motive. I like to call them the useful idiots, the narcissists, the power mongers, and the chaos junkies. Each type plays their own unique role in this slow motion suicide, and by the end, you'll be able to identify each one of them. So how does Gad Saad define suicidal empathy? Put simply, suicidal empathy is the pathological overuse of compassion, directing excessive empathy toward the wrong people in the wrong amounts, even when it directly harms you. Empathy becomes excessive when it ignores facts and logic. Empathy is misdirected when it's extended to anyone who fits the oppressed and victimized bucket, even when there's clear evidence that they are in fact the problem. Empathy itself is not the problem. It's one of the traits that made us human. Feeling another person's pain, wanting to help, caring for the weak. Evolution built that into us for a reason, because a tribe that looks after its own is the one that survives. But every good trait has a pathological version. In psychology, a pathology is a pattern of behavior that disrupts your ability to function, something maladaptive and destructive to you or the people around you. Essentially, it's a normal trait that becomes so extreme that it turns harmful. For example, OCD is the extreme of wanting things clean and orderly. Narcissism is the extreme of healthy confidence. And an anxiety disorder is a stress response that doesn't turn off. So in the same way, caring for others, feeling their pain, and wanting to help is evolutionarily adaptive, but it can go horribly wrong. Let's start with the useful idiot. These are the kinds of people who fit the exact definition of pathological empathy. Usually, they're extremely high in the personality trait agreeableness. These are the types that are almost zombified by their emotions, and they completely abdicate rationality and facts in favor of their warm and fuzzy feelings. Just like Ben Shapiro said,
facts don't care about your feelings.
But really, in their case, it would be more correct to say,
feelings don't care about the facts.
Suicidal empathy overrides people's evolutionary-based computational systems of self-preservation. They are blind to reality, and they extend empathy to people who just don't deserve it, even when it goes against their own survival instinct. These are the kinds of people who believe that hurt people hurt people. They can't see real evil. They can't believe that there are those who will engage in violence and destruction and corruption out of sheer malevolence. Wherever evil is done, they truly believe that the only possible reason for it is oppression. They immediately empathize with the aggressors so long as they are seen as the weak and oppressed. We have here the sanctity of the victim, the belief that victims are good, honest and pure. And those who defend them are both righteous and morally justified. They think if only we helped illegal immigrants and asylum seekers, gave them better opportunities, financial aid, better resources, they would stop committing crime. The psychologist Paul Bloom wrote a book called Against Empathy, where he critiques this blind use of empathy. His main idea is that empathy, when it's completely cut off from facts and logic, is a catastrophic decision maker. What we actually need, Bloom says, is rational compassion, caring paired with reason. And that's the tragedy of the useful idiot. Hyper-empathy, no logic, and a complete denial of reality. Show them any evidence that contradicts their beliefs or that points to the unintended consequences of their compassionate actions, and it's like their brain goes into a system does not compute error. That's what's called cognitive dissonance, the discomfort they feel trying to process two opposing beliefs. And the easy way to deal with that discomfort is to bury one of them. And so the useful idiot remains blind, righteous, and keeps feeding our society's suicidal empathy cycle. They are the ones that the other types can easily manipulate. Now for the second type. These ones are a lot less innocent. The narcissist doesn't actually feel any of this. With them, it's all a performance. This is the virtue signaling, social climbing crowd, and they set the tone for the entire culture. They're the reason a normal person feels this flash of fear before saying something obvious out loud. The narcissist makes disagreement socially unacceptable, on purpose. For these people, it's all about status. Publicly defending the victim gives them an air of moral superiority, and they're addicted to it. They take victim worship to the extreme because if you can't be a victim yourself, the next best thing is to show everyone how much you care about the victims. Whether it's illegal immigrants committing crimes or trans people reading to preschoolers about gender fluidity, anyone who doesn't play along gets called a Nazi, a bigot, or a transphobe. Because in this game, branding the doubters as evil is how you prove your own purity. At this point, this isn't really suicidal empathy anymore. It's just plain vanity. Suicidal vanity.
I think often what you're dealing with is not genuinely empathy. It's suicidal vanity, right? It's a conceit about yourself being a good person. And you're going to inflict your goodness on everybody else, you know? It's sticking up for people who are vulnerable. But I often feel with these people that groups of people they are defending, they're almost irrelevant because it's an exercise in moral display.
And there's a perfect name for what they're doing, coined by the writer Rob Henderson: luxury beliefs. A luxury belief is an idea that gives status to the upper class at almost no cost to themselves, while the cost lands on the lower classes instead. In other words, they're modern status symbols for the affluent. And the crucial part is that the people holding these beliefs are completely insulated from the consequences. They live in safe neighborhoods, they send their kids to private schools, and importantly, they have the resources to keep their distance from the very problems they're causing, while the policies they push roll straight onto the working class and the poor. Take the whole celebrity crusade against ICE. Standing up for the people being deported looks compassionate, and it costs the celebrity nothing.
Say that I'm so sorry. I'll try everything, I promise.
But they're not the ones living next to the violent criminals who don't get removed. That falls on the working class neighborhoods they'll never set foot in. And you can see it clearly at the awards shows, where the celebrities all congregate and get their chance to virtue signal to each other and to the paparazzi, where they like to pontificate politics. You've got a room full of millionaires wearing their little ICE pins, staying willfully blind to the kind of people ICE is actually deporting. Murderers, rapists, human traffickers, drug dealers, the list goes on. And then watch Billie Eilish.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Just look at the glee on her face. She's beaming, basking in all that peer-approved moral superiority. It's cringe. The whole thing is cringe.
Yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now.
It's hard to know what to say because there's nothing actually there. The opinion is empty, built on whim and groupthink, and at the end of the day, she'll say whatever gets her the most applause in the room. Watching everyone clap along was like watching a scene out of the Hunger Games. Or take the defund the police slogan. It was a fashionable thing to shout from inside a gated community.
Don't go advocating for something for black people that you wouldn't want for yourself. Because every
God,
white
that's well
liberal that says we shouldn't have the police in black communities, okay, would you call the police if there was crime in your neighborhood? Is that what you want? You think you're helping us and you're not.
But the people who actually pay the price are the poorest neighborhoods, the ones who need the police the most. That's the whole engine of a luxury belief. The wealthy get the moral status, and the people who can least afford it get the consequences. And there are people watching this entire performance who have learned exactly how to use it. The power mongers. These are the politicians and the institutions who don't believe any of this. They take the genuine feeling of the useful idiots and the performance of the narcissists and use it for their own political and financial gain. This is the type that uses these suicidal empathy causes to defraud the entire tax-paying system. All of the left-wing parties, both in the US and Europe, are running on suicidal empathy platforms. They play the game and appeal to the useful idiots and the narcissists so they can gain power. They'll use whichever suicidal empathy cause will get them what they want. Half a century ago, the radical Saul Alinsky said this plainly. The issue is never the issue. Whenever you see a cause built on suicidal empathy, just ask yourself, who is benefiting from it financially and politically? If you follow the money, the true motives become very clear. Start with the votes. Mass immigration gets sold as pure compassion. We have to help these people. They're just trying to make a better life for themselves. Who are we to refuse them? But for the parties pushing it, there's a political incentive underneath all of it. Essentially, what they're doing is importing their own base. They let illegal immigrants flood the country, hand them a bunch of free benefits, and that way they make sure they vote for them.
If you're on Medicare, you don't get free dental, you don't get free vision. You do if you're an illegal immigrant in California. I'm not going to let taxpayers in Alabama and Mississippi, New Mexico, our poorest states pay for the fourth largest economy in the world, and they get less.
So to get that correct, in a place like California and Minnesota, illegal migrants were getting Medicaid for completely free. Yes.
You see the same move with voter ID. Asking for someone to prove who they are before they vote gets framed as cruel and discriminatory.
Do you think it's racist to require an ID to vote?
Yes.
I think there's definitely a problem with it because it is so expensive to get the IDs.
You would say that it's harder for a black person to get an ID than a white person.
I would have no idea. But I mean, if they say it is, then I believe them.
Right.
But the real reason is a lot simpler. When nobody has to prove who they are, you get illegal immigrants voting in your elections. People who should never be near a ballot box in the first place. And that benefits exactly the party that let them in. Just a side note, I voted in New York in the 2025 election, and literally no one asked for my ID. In the end, all they care about is power. Same thing when a politician like Zoran Mamdani runs an entire campaign on redistributing wealth.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Because this is what communism always does. It uses the useful idiots of a society to gain real political power by selling them beautiful lies about collectivism, equality, and freeing the oppressed. So what kind of person is comfortable manipulating the system like this? Psychologically speaking, these are the types who are high in the dark triad traits. With them, you'll find extremely high levels of Machiavellianism, defined as a calculated willingness to deceive or exploit others to achieve self-interested goals. They're cynical, emotionally detached, and master manipulators. The sad irony is that this is the one type who feels the least empathy of anyone in the whole story. Now for the last type, the chaos junkies. They don't want your money and they don't want your vote. They want to see everything burn. These are the people who actively create chaos, and they use the tenets of suicidal empathy to justify their actions. You know exactly who I mean. The professional protesters screaming in people's faces, the outright anarchists blockading roads, assaulting police officers, smashing windows, looting stores, and calling it all justice. Under all of their slogans, there's one old idea at play: Marxism, the doctrine that claims to care for the oppressed and advocate for equality. But how does it suggest to do this? By a violent overthrow of the ruling class. These chaos junkies jump on the bandwagon of the trendiest suicidal empathy causes, but they're all just Marxists and communists at heart. They're all lusting for bloody revolution. Psychologically speaking, this mindset is called the need for chaos. In a 2023 paper, Michael Bang Peterson and colleagues define this as a desire for a new beginning through the destruction of order and established structures. One of the ways high need for chaos individuals do this is by sharing rumors to mobilize like-minded others, sow confusion, and encourage violence for a political cause. In the 8 studies they ran, people who were high in need for chaos answered yes to questions like this. When I think about our political and social institutions, I cannot help thinking, just let them all burn. Sometimes I just feel like destroying beautiful things. And with all of that said, these kinds of people are wrapping their hunger for destruction in the pure language of suicidal empathy, while the useful idiots cheer on the protests and the narcissists applaud their efforts at dinner parties and Instagram. Meanwhile, the powermongers speak publicly in support of the protests and the chaos because they strengthen their agendas in the end. After all, most of these politicians are just plain communists as well. They'll preach equality and empathy for the most vulnerable, but deep down, they crave the bloody revolution just as much.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires, and that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
A revolution serves their interests, no matter how destructive to the society, because it's their chance to rise to the top. And so there you have it. The vicious suicidal empathy machine keeps feeding itself, and it's accelerating. And it will continue doing so until we recognize who these players are, and that stopping them is a matter of survival. At this point, the cost of political correctness is just too high. Don't let them bully you into silence with the threat of being called a bigot or an Islamophobe. Stand by what you believe, because the worst things in history have happened when the sane majority stayed silent. This episode will be a part of a series, so stay tuned for more breakdowns on suicidal empathy. If you enjoy the video, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.